gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Quick Question with Soren and Daniel, the podcast where two best friends and comedy writers who generally live across the country from one another talk and occasionally get together and do it. We're now together. This is both an audio and a visual version of this podcast where you can watch it on YouTube, where Dan and I are together in the same room. I am one half of that podcast. I'm Soren Bowie, writer for American Dad, and wearing the same pants I wore for the last 3 episodes. If you're watching this on video, you'll notice same pants. Haven't changed because it's movie magic. The other half of this podcast is Daniel O'Brien. Daniel, please say hello and talk about your pants.
Hello, I am Daniel O'Brien, senior writer for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver and author of How to Fight Presidents and its children's adaptation, Your Presidential Fantasy Dream Team. And I am wearing the same pants that I've been wearing for a while. And it's now occurring to me that they're a darker pant and I'm wearing a black shirt. And I don't like that.
Really?
I don't love it. No, it's a little too matchy for me. And like, it's not the black of the top is not the exact black of the
I don't think it should
pants.
Be. I think this is good. I think what you've got going on is working.
Too close.
Well, the pants aren't black. The pants are kind of like a gray.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect combo for a black. Like that sets the stage for a real dark black to walk in.
Yeah.
Thanks to Raycon for supporting Quick Question. To get everyone in the holiday shopping spirit a bit early, Raycon is currently offering 20% off everything on their site with select products up to 50% off. Go to buyraycon.com/QQ.
This episode is sponsored by Uncommon Goods, an online shop dedicated to unique and high-quality gifts made by artists and independent businesses. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/QQ. Here's the issue I'm having with my outfit.
Sure.
I've got these Merrell shoes, which are shoes that I bought because I found that I was like, when I go on hikes and things like that with my kids, or we'd find ourselves out in the wilderness, that I was slipping around a lot. So I was like, I need something with some good traction. So I got these Merrell shoes. They're black and gray shoes. Oh, dark black and light gray. Very similar to your outfit. But then there's brown on the bottom. And brown, that feels like a huge break of the law, where I'm wearing black and then also brown appears in the same outfit.
Yeah.
And within the same shoe, that's lawless.
Yeah. Totally. It's the interesting thing about doing this podcast and doing it for video specifically is it makes me realize that I have not had to really think about my outfits for quite some time.
Yeah, not since after hours.
We are on strike, so I haven't had a job to go to. And even before that, we'd been remote. So really, it's whatever shirt I felt like putting on for the 2 minutes a week that I was on a Zoom call for work, and then the rest of that time is just mine to be sleeveless and in swim trunks or whatever I feel most comfortable in. And so the fact that I had to like go through my closet and was like, what shirts do I think I should wear on camera? I just never think about my wardrobe at all anymore, except for like date night or going to see my family. But generally that's like, there's 2 shirts that I wear for those 2 things that I interchange over and over again.
It was nice to lose that decision from my life. I really enjoyed that. I'm the same way, but I really felt it from after hours. When I tried, like, when I'm getting ready to come to this, I know we're going to be shooting 3 of these. I'm like, oh, I got to pick out the outfits.
Yeah.
Oh no. And like that, I didn't felt that like dull, like, I don't want to do this since after hours. When those were all our own outfits. Those were our clothes.
Right.
And you'd go through it and you'd be like, what have I already worn? What have they seen me in?
Is there something that makes sense thematically for the episode? we used to put that thought into it. And I don't know if this is like, I hate my wardrobe or I hate myself or what it is, but like, I don't have a problem if I have to get up and get dressed for something. What am I going to wear to go out to dinner or to go to the movies? I'll just put something on. When tasked with like, pick 3 shirts that you like that are good, I'm just like, I don't know about that.
Well, you're also on vacation too.
Yeah.
So you're really limited.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of after hours, Dan, I have a quick question to you. And this is actually coming to you from Gabe Harder. This is our director and our sound engineer and editor and all around great guy at Gabe Harder. When we would do after hours, we would come up with essentially these theses around pop culture.
Correct.
And the question is, now that we've moved on like 10 years or whatever it's been. Has it really been 10?
I don't know, man.
We started in like 2013.
2000, yeah.
Are there opinions that like you now rescind, like that you don't think hold up, like that your mind has been changed?
Yeah. I mean, I there's a broader thing about After Hours that I think I talked about on a live stream that we did with with Michael and Katie, the rest of the crew, in the middle of COVID, where I've seen some ripple effects of After Hours, like the way that film discourse on the internet happens now. It's I don't want to sound like I'm one of those old guys who's railing against cancel culture or anything like that, but it does feel like the way people talk about movies, they are looking for reasons why the movies are bad, or they fail a test, or
things
like,
they should have done.
They should have done, or like I noticed this plot hole, or I noticed this, like if you watch this movie through a feminist lens or a queer lens or any kind of critical lens you want, you can see why the movie is bad and problematic, and that's why we shouldn't like it. It seems like it's become an amateur sport to find why movies are actually bad and bad for you. And I don't want to give us complete credit or blame, but I do think you can trace a dotted line from what we did to the current state of film discourse online. And I wouldn't change anything really, but I guess I would just do like companion pieces to every After Hours thing that we did, or article. Anytime we did anything was secretly terrifying, or this is actually horrifying, or where this is bad. I didn't think we needed to make it clear at the time that we were coming from a place of love and affection and attention, and like the stuff that we were doing wasn't new. I was an English major who studied literary theory, and this is like been going on for as long as people have been making things. It was like, let me look at this poem with a feminist lens, or through queer theory or postmodern theory, however you want to deconstruct something. The goal was not to destroy. It was just like, here is an interesting way to read this.
Yeah.
And that's what we were trying to do with every After Hours episode that we did, was just like, we don't actually think Disney movies are bad for people. Here is an interesting way to reframe your thought process about these Disney movies.
So your answer is all of them.
All of them, yeah. I mean, I just think it's we perhaps contributed to a misunderstanding of the way to engage with pop culture.
Yes, I think that's absolutely true. I think that when you start hearing, like, politically, when you hear an argument from the other side and somebody's making like they're giving you like their spiel on why what you believe is wrong.
Yeah.
You're waiting for that one moment in it where you're like, that's wrong. I don't have to listen to you. Or like that I caught you there. Like you were being hyperbolic. That's not actually true. I don't have to listen to you.
Yeah.
And now we're treating film that way, or pop culture in general that way, where it's like, you're just like looking for you're trying to find the hangups, or like the things where they're not quite right. And then being like, the whole thing fucking sucks.
Right.
Like, let's blow the whole thing up.
There's a real, it's interesting and helpful that you mentioned politics too, because there is a real, in conversation with this film discourse thing, people online love to be like, I like Ted Lasso, but I wouldn't want to know who he voted for in the Trump-Hillary election. Like people want to find which fictional characters would have voted in a way that they don't like. And unless you're doing it as like just a purely fun hypothetical exercise, I don't know why you're trying to like cancel fictional Ted Lasso for his alleged political views. Well, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yes. I think that we always, especially with After Hours, is like we try to come at it from a perspective of, we love this thing. Here's this unique thing we noticed about Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And like, let's figure out, this is just like this one moment in Ghostbusters. You're like, well, why is that there? As opposed to being like, that's wrong. It's like, well, let's see what that means. Instead of that being a plot hole, let's take it a step further and think, why would that intentionally be there, and what are the ramifications for that universe that
Yeah.
that's there? And like then that's fun because then you're playing again. Like then you're like actually like playing a game of like figuring that out and trying to think of it through. And I think that a lot of cinematic discourse now stops at that first part, which is that's a weird thing. Get it out of here.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have done that. It's like, no, let's now think it all the way through and be like, okay, well, why is it there? Or like, what are, even if it is a mistake, what does it mean? Like,
Yeah.
what does it mean for this universe that's there? And that's a way more fun. I just think it's a more fun way to
Yeah.
think about things. I have one that
Yeah,
I will
all that
lead
said, I
with.
have specific ones
Yeah.
too, like episodes that I don't agree with anymore. For sure.
I wrote an episode about the police in movies and television and how we are, by nature, the police have to be bad at their jobs in movies.
Yeah.
Generally, if it's not a movie about police, it's still like the police aren't solving the crime. Like whatever's going on, like the police are not helpful. And that's why your hero has to deal with it. Or if there's a movie about police, then it's generally like the rest of the police department is not getting it. And like they're not doing a very good job. And this one person, this one detective is the only one who's like seeing the light.
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to go through and like figure out any sort of movie where the police are actually good at their jobs.
Right. And more often than not, a plot hinges on like if there is a cop who is our hero that we're following, it's the cop is only successful because they behave like not a cop. They do vigilante stuff.
Yes.
Like John McClane is a cop who is so frustrated with the incompetent other cops in either LA, New York, Washington, D.C., or Russia.
Oh, that was like
that-
going to be like Dayton, Ohio.
No, he has to do it himself. He has to
Yes.
like he realizes, all right, all these cops are dumb, so I'm going to do this by not following the book, by not doing procedure. I'm gonna save the day by being essentially Batman.
Right. And I think, well, that point stands that police inevitably have to be bad at policing within these movies for them to like make sense. I came at it from the perspective of this is only happening in movies. And I think that I've since come around on the fact that like, no, that's a pretty accurate description of policing.
Yeah.
That policing, like the police are not as good at their jobs as we'd want to believe that they are.
Right.
Like these the open murder cases that remain open are like 90% of them. And that we now are getting a lot more footage and stuff of police like doing a really bad job at their
Yeah.
jobs. And this isn't just abuse and like them like abusing their power and stuff. This is also just like them at traffic stops and stuff where they just don't know what they're fucking doing.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like
Just shooting out of slides faster than anyone has ever traveled through a slide. I don't know how dated that reference is going to be by the time this episode comes out. But at the time of recording, completely divorced of context, we've all watched a
Boston
cop
Police
just
Department.
like fucking fire out of a slide.
well, not fire out. A cop had gone down a tunnel slide. You hear like rattling in there, like something like a child has dropped a race car down a slide. There's rattling of hard shit in there, and then all of a sudden, a cop comes out face down
Yeah.
out of a slide.
No one pushed him. It's super
With his
embarrassing for
arms
the
at his
cop.
sides.
And there's like lines of people in Boston because Boston is always going to Boston. There's lines of people going down that slide and filming themselves being super normal and not exiting it face down at high speed with a head
70
injury.
miles an hour.
And as far as I know, we don't actually know what happened. And like Boston PD is just like, we are investigating this. Everyone turn around.
Yeah, this guy comes out so mad at the slide. And then somebody did another video of it where all they did was they reversed it. And so
Yeah.
like this cop like gets sucked into a slide. And I sat for an entire morning just laughing at this. Like watched it maybe 3 times and that like the rest of the morning, I was good. Like
Yeah.
I was just like getting tea and stuff, just like cackling at the thought of this cop getting sucked into a slide. Anyway, I'd come around. The Soren in After Hours was like very on the side of police,
Yeah.
and this was a hard thing for him to take. And I've now, and at the time, I think I genuinely believed it. Like, no, the police in movies are way more incompetent than actual police departments, and I don't know that I believe that anymore.
You were given a tough beat that in retrospect is probably difficult for you to swallow. As like the character of Soren in the show is super Law and Order.
Yeah.
Like that is
Yeah.
a through line for every episode. That again, if film Twitter wanted to go out and be like, which one of the After Hours characters voted for Trump?
Oh, it's 100% Soren.
the Soren character.
Oh, wait, absolutely. Or like is one of those people who's just like, I don't get involved in politics. They're all the same. They're
Right.
bad on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be one that I've since like been like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Even I was too kind on like real world police.
Yeah.
It may be too early to start decorating for the holidays, but it's never too early to start your holiday shopping. Why not take care of it now, before the crowds and packed calendars make shopping a total nightmare? Especially when you can get some of the best deals of the season well before Black Friday. You can shop Raycon products right now and save up to 50% off because their early Black Friday sale is going on now. To get everyone in the holiday shopping spirit a bit early, Raycon is currently offering 20% off everything on their site with select products up to 50% off. Go to buyraycon.com/QQ. You have heard me talk about Raycon's products before. I listen to them when I'm at the gym, when I'm running, when I'm listening to my podcasts while walking, when I'm listening to my podcasts while walking my dog, Jackson. I love my Raycons. And this past year, they expanded their entire business with the introduction of Raycon Home and Raycon Power Tech. Their 5-star reviewed Magic 180 cable allows you to charge iOS, micro USB, and Type-C devices 8 times faster with 100-watt power delivery. Raycon's faucet filter ultra filters the water in your tap against chlorine and heavy metals. It's a must-have for ensuring the water you use to wash your face and brush your teeth is, actually clean. Raycon is known for delivering high quality and thoughtful features at half the price of other premium tech brands. It's no wonder their products have racked up tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. So beat the crowds and save now. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on Raycon's early Black Friday sale. Hurry now to buyraycon.com/QQ to get 20 to 50% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/QQ to score up to 50% off Raycon products.
I rewatched the episode that I wrote about Batman, why Batman is bad for Gotham, and he could do more as Bruce Wayne than he could as Batman. And a couple of things stood out from that episode for me. One is you can tell an early episode of After Hours based on how much care we put in the clothes that we wear.
Yeah.
Like you are wearing a black sweater vest and a gray button-down shirt beneath it because it's our Batman episode, and black and gray are good Batman colors. Yeah. And I'm also wearing like a full sweater and a collared shirt underneath it because I wanted to wear something nice. And like we're all like stylized. Later After Hours episodes, t-shirt all the way. The laziest things I could possibly do. And like we wrote opportunities for Michael and I to exit in that episode because you and Katie, your characters are getting into a fight and we decide we're going to leave. So like that's additional coverage of us standing up and exiting. We also wrote a beat where you and Katie are standing. Mm-hmm. That's more coverage. That's all this shit that looking at it, it's like, I'm glad we did this. It looks good. I also know that we didn't do anything like that in later episodes of the show because we were just thinking, if we have the characters stand up, that's going to be like a whole new setup with camera and lighting. That's going to make our day longer. So no one ever stands up. No one ever changes. Like you and Katie turn into Batman and Catwoman. And there's like dramatic lighting and like full costumes and you make out in it. And it's like, it looks so cool. Never again. I want to get home.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of really fun post stuff that happens in that one, which is like little animation things that are happening just in the real world, as opposed to just our brains. Like it's happening in the real world. And we gave up on a lot of that shit.
Yeah. Well, the behind the scenes on that episode is I think it was the first episode that Cody started doing animations for it, and he's really auditioning for the job. He really wants everyone to see how much bells and whistles he put into it.
It's so busy.
Yeah.
But I think in a good way. I mean, it helps the episode, and it's fun. It's compelling to look at while you're getting basically a dissertation on Batman.
Right.
But yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. That's all those things I just observed are like for you and I to notice being part of it.
Yeah.
For the purposes of our episode, though, I don't super agree with the arguments. I mean, it is still true that like Bruce Wayne can do a lot of good by donating. I do think within the universe of all Batman fiction, he does do.
Yeah, he's got the Wayne Foundation.
He is very philanthropic and does a whole lot of stuff. And the central conceit of the argument against Batman is he shouldn't be Batman. he's just a rich asshole who likes to dress up like a bat and beat people up, and that's bad. I think the counter argument that I would make to that argument now is, yeah, that's the point of Batman. Like, we're not pointing out anything new. Like, he is not supposed to be 100% correct. Like, it is an ongoing thread in Batman that, like, yeah, he is a little bit crazy. That's kind of the point of Batman.
Yeah.
The point is he's a little bit nuts, and you shouldn't get any like gold stars for pointing that out.
Yeah. Yeah, it also feels like an argument that after when we did it, I remember being in the room when we were like deciding, like we were just like coming up with like elements of pop culture. And we're like, well, let's just talk about them. Like we were doing what would be later be an After Hours episode, but like a very unpolished version of it. Where we'd be like, let's talk about Batman, and like we started talking about like, wait, Batman has all that money. Like why?
At the time, it felt like a very fresh,
like a pioneering argument, and now it's like the argument's been made so many times that it feels really dead. And in a way where I'm like, it's not fun. Like it's we liked Batman. We liked it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are coming at it from this perspective of like, they don't like Batman, and here's why I don't like Batman. He could be doing way more. And it's like, no, that was just like a fun, hypothetical.
Yeah. I don't want to watch a movie where Bruce Wayne sets up a charity foundation. That sucks.
Also, I mean, and maybe we're not getting it from all the movies. We certainly got in the last Batman, but he's like the world's greatest detective too. That's like a really fun aspect of him.
Yeah.
That we ignored for that After Hours episode, which is, he's a guy who puts on costumes and goes and punches criminals, but he's also like the only person in the world who can solve this scarecrow problem.
Yeah.
Like and he has to do it by punching guys. It just so happens. I agree with you. That's going back and revisiting that one. I like the performances in it. I like
do too.
The choices that get made. And like, I do like that we wear the costumes. I like that there's like a behind the scenes fun thing that happens where the food is getting delivered to the set, and this guy like walks past the window and happens to see Katie and I dressed as Catwoman and Batman kissing, and stops and comes back and looks.
Yeah, that's not an actor. That's like a real person who is delivering food.
Yeah. That's all really fun. But I agree with you. Like the argument itself, I'm like, at this point, I'm like, no, it's not. We're not doing that now.
That was another Soren is pro cops episode.
Yes.
I think you specifically say you wouldn't blame cops if prisons failed. I'm like, oh boy.
Didn't hold up so well. The reason I thought of that police one was because somebody had made a TikTok of it being, my argument is very pro cops, and Katie in the episode, for the fun of the episode, it hates cops and hates them, but like in a very confusing way. Like she has like this whole vernacular for them that no one's ever heard of before. And somebody had done where we were arguing about police forces and like how useful they are in the episode, and somebody had put on over me put like a boomer position and like a young maybe millennial position on the other one. I think at the time, maybe even Gen Z, I can't remember, but like hearing the two arguments, I'm like, I mean that checks out. Like the arguments that I'm giving are pretty dated. But yeah, that would be the one I think I would change. I think Batman is a good one to like revisit and be like, well, let's all stop doing this.
Yeah.
Uncommon Goods is an online shop dedicated to unique and high-quality gifts made by artists and small independent businesses. Most of the items in the store are handmade, and they're made in the U.S. From art and jewelry to kitchen, home, and bar, Uncommon Goods has something special to choose for everyone on your Christmas list this year. If you go into Uncommon Goods, there's a very good chance you will find something that somebody else in your family needs desperately and they didn't even know it, which is the perfect kind of gift. Uncommon Goods is here to make your holiday shopping stress-free by scouring the globe for the most remarkable and truly unique gifts for everyone on your list. Whether you're shopping for your Secret Santa or your entire family, Uncommon Goods knows exactly what they want. If you want to hear, where'd you get this holiday season, Uncommon Goods is your secret weapon. I've already ordered from Uncommon Goods because I do my Christmas shopping early. It's just a thing that I do. Our Christmas cards are done by Halloween. Anyway, I got my wife something from the list with my son's help. We checked it together because I wanted him to get her something, and we got some incredible earrings for her that I wonder if I should bleep this out, actually. You know what? It's fine. My wife doesn't even listen to this podcast. I'll tell you all about it. She got some wonderful earrings. They're beautiful. My son has got great taste, it turns out, and I think she's really going to love them. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/QQ. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. That's 15% off at uncommongoods.com/QQ.
And the rest of the I rewatched Batman for the purposes of this episode, and if this one does well, then we'll rewatch and talk about more after hours.
Yeah.
It's not a show that I rewatch, not because I'm not proud of it or that I don't like it. It's a lot of me talking.
And how would you find it if you wanted to watch it?
But it was so I don't rewatch any of them, and we would do them in batches, and also there were different writers for different episodes, and it was so long ago. I remember very little of it.
Yeah, there are episodes.
So
that
when
I've
you're talking
since-
about I don't know what episode you're talking about when you say we had a cops in movies episode.
Oh, you don't?
I remember the running bit of Katie being anti-cop, and that was a fun thing to find and play with, but I have no memory of that episode whatsoever.
Yeah. There's also, I occasionally they'll show up in my right rail just like when I'm watching YouTube.
Yeah.
And there was one that I saw and I was like, that sounds really interesting. And I was watching it, I was like, this is very interesting. I wrote this one and had they're gone. I mean, they're completely, I think you and I ended up writing most of the majority of the episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Ended up being you and me. But
Yeah.
But there are episodes now that I guess I just wrote and then had no memory of. There was a Quentin Tarantino one about how food is used in Quentin Tarantino movies. And I was watching it and I was very interested in what it means. The characters that are allowed to eat in the movies are always the characters of power. And I was looking back and I was this is great. This is a really interesting thesis.
Yeah.
And then I was oh shit, that's my joke. Oh, I wrote this episode.
I do like how much fun we had with it. I'm happy that the Batman episode opened with Diner Russian Roulette, a game that I played with my brothers growing up, where you have 4 or however many people are at the table, sugar packets, empty one of them out, fill it with salt, shuffle them around, and then someone has to eat a bunch of salt.
Yeah. Everybody puts sugar in their mouth except one person who has a bunch of salt and then they pay.
And when I watched that bit in this episode, I was like, oh yeah, I used to just there was an era of After Hours before we dialed it in so tightly of just this is an essay show with a series of arguments.
Mm-hmm.
There's a period before that where it was we'll give some fun business to do up front, and even Soren and Katie hooking up was a needless character thing that I thought, this would be fun. And we had backstory for all the characters who dated whom at any point. And we just we used to pepper those things in until we just got all old and tired. And we're just all right, lights up, action. Someone says, I think Sonic the Hedgehog is bad. Someone says, I actually think he's good. That's an episode. We're done now.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time with Jack early on thinking about the characters' backstories and who they were and stuff. It turned out none of that shit mattered.
No.
and it's fun to watch that stuff kind of just fall away through the seasons where it's nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
What people care about is that these are 4 people that feels like you could be you and your friends and they're arguing about Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also found all the early work that we did where it was well, Katie's character and Michael's character used to date.
Yeah.
And they broke up. And Soren is the cool kid who we had such a convoluted reason for why you would hang out with these
It felt
nerds.
really important at the time.
Yeah, because Jack was just I don't know, why is Soren there? What is he getting out of this relationship with these goblins?
Yeah.
And all that effort that we put in the beginning didn't account for the fact that you and I were just gonna have really fun chemistry on set that we liked and the audience liked that nobody planned for. It was just that the show gradually became Big Brother, Little Brother. Yeah. And then whatever Michael and Katie were doing on their side of the
It is
table.
really interesting that just because of the choreography of it, where everybody happened to be sitting at the table, it really changed the dynamic of real friendships in the world. And it was we just had fun business to be doing when we're in a 2-shot together.
Yeah.
And it just became oh, this is great. And I think that it probably would have happened with anybody else at the table. It just happened to be we were both on the same side and that was very fun.
Yeah.
And then Katie and Michael had the same situation where they were doing really fun bit stuff on their side of the table. And I don't know. I wonder if we'd ever like shuffled it around, if it would have changed, if I'd be doing this podcast with somebody else. I do occasionally, my brain doesn't stop working that way, like it did for After Hours, which was watching everything with the lens of critical theory. And because that's what you're taught your entire, that's what you learned in college. That's like all you studied.
Right. It was all I did in college was apply different critical lenses to different pieces of literature. And then I was so excited to move on to Cracked and like, let me put this on Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Please.
All this time that I felt like I was wasting when I was young, when I was watching TV and my parents were like, you should be outside. I'm like, no, that was valuable. Now it all matters. That felt really nice. I still can't turn it off though. Now I watch shows and things will come up and I'll be like, oh, that would have been a really good After Hours.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that happens for you. It happened for me recently with Succession.
Oh.
And Brendan, who worked on this show with us, he was, what was he? He's the PA? No, what is it?
Sure.
Well, Brendan worked on After Hours, and I think he was occasionally like an assistant director and stuff. But he was on a lot of you've actually seen him probably in episodes and stuff, not episodes of the show, but different sketches and stuff. Anyway, he clued me into this as well, which is in Succession. Everybody's relationship to food in Succession is also very fascinating, where they don't touch the food. And in fact, if you eat, it's a weakness in that show, where everybody that you watch them, they'll show up at restaurants and they'll just be like food on the tables, or like they'll just be places where there are platters of stuff. And the kids and also Brian Cox, like they don't touch any of the food. The idea is that like you will always have food available to you. You don't take it when you can get it.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of power. And then you've got people who are eating there, and like it's always they're looked down upon when they're eating.
Right.
Like it's like, what the fuck, you're actually eating here?
Fisher Stevens takes a big plate of food when they're in Sweden or Norway or something, and it's like a big joke.
Yeah, it's
that look at this idiot who took the free food.
It was bait. Yeah, it was like the other people show up and they see who's actually eating. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're nothing. You're eating a croissant. Fuck
That's
you.
interesting. I don't watch much with that same After Hours lens anymore.
Oh, really?
And even like I recently did Michael and Abe's podcast Frame Rate, where we talked about Men in Black, and I started watching that movie thinking, all right, let me put on the After Hours hat when I watch this and see what doesn't work and what's problematic. And like 5 minutes into the movie, I'm just like, this rules. This is cool. I like it. This is fun. Shoot the aliens. I don't care.
I want to get there. I really like that. I mean, even just watching Vampire's Kiss, I was like, watching the beginning and I'm like, but why are we watching so much of the city?
I guess I wonder what if you do that when you're watching like programming with your kids, if you're thinking about like, because if all of my worst nightmares came true and we were still doing After Hours today, then there would inevitably be like a Paw Patrol episode. And what does Paw Patrol mean? Like this fascist dog squad.
Right.
So I wonder if you, like as you're watching Bluey or whatever the hell else you're watching with the kids, if you're thinking about if it would hold up to a critical lens.
I do. And my son, it's clear that my son enjoys playing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
There are certain shows that he feels like he's aged out of, and he really likes doing it with those shows. Like Paw Patrol is one of them, where like as soon as he's like, can we talk about Paw Patrol? Because he knows that I'll do this. And I'll be like, sure. And I'll be like, so who's funding the Paw Patrol? Like, what is anybody funding that? Or are they doing it with the good nature of their heart? Also, they can't just be doing that because where are all the vehicles coming from? And Ryder doesn't have a job. Like, where is all this coming from? And what does it mean? And it's like, is the mayor and Chickaletta, like, are they the ones who are doing this? Because then this is a really well-run city. I mean, the fact that it's working and like these are the ones, they just a couple of puppies and a little kid save everybody. Maybe we should look into that system. That seems to be working pretty well. But he really enjoys doing it. Or we do it with books all the time, where we were looking through a Where's Waldo. And I encourage anyone to just go back through Where's Waldo and look at all the scenes that are going on and try to figure out the relationship that the illustrator has with women, because it's very complex. He draws them as so horny.
Yeah.
Like all of the women are into just these big muscle guys, and it becomes a real problem in the dynamics of the script. I mean, the dynamics of the comic a couple
Yeah.
times where like guys are getting left behind because a woman just happens to see a guy in a Speedo or whatever. But these women are like jumping into rivers and stuff, trying to get to strong guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
When I was in, this was like the coup of a lifetime, the Easter egg of a century. When I was in second grade, there was a big "Where's Waldo" poster, and it was one of the times that you couldn't find him at the beach. And one of the scenes has like someone running through the beach and startling people, maybe a dog, maybe a person,
Mm-hmm.
and a woman who was sunbathing gets up in shock and like she is topless. It's cartoon topless.
Yeah.
But second grade,
That's a big
Daniel was
deal.
like, I can't tell anyone about this because if I tell the teacher, she's gonna take it down. And I would just like make it a point to look at that poster every once in a while because you can't. You like still trying to find Waldo over here. Really looking for him.
Pretty sure he's in
Really
this
looking for
corner.
him, teach.
He's in this sweaty corner
I'm
down
gonna
here. Yeah, that's what a gift that is to a
Thinking
second
about
grader.
it now that like there was some adult who was like, I'm just gonna like give her her fucking titties are out too. That's just for me. That's just like ooh, ooh.
Yeah, this is just for that little kid who wants
Yeah.
to see this. I mean, we did the same. When we go to the school library as kids, I knew where the art section was because I'd be like, I really want to look at some old sculptures. There's boobs all over these sculptures. I can see everything. I can see her. Look, she's not even wearing pants. That's her butt. Yeah, I know that feeling when you're a kid and you're just like, whatever you can get.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. I have a son who's now going into second grade. And he's not in him, and I'm like, well, where did it come from in me? Where he just couldn't give less of a shit. Like
Yeah.
he does not care about sexuality or like nudity or anything like that.
Yeah.
And or even like the differences of the sexes. And I think back on my childhood, and I have memories of being 7 or 8 years old and having memories about like caring.
Yeah.
And I was like, where the fuck did that come from? I'm glad that he doesn't, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really nice. It's really nice to know that he's just a kid.
Right. It's important for some people to actually find Waldo. Like that's what most people are doing because
all
most
that
people aren't perverts. Who's like, yeah, forget about Waldo. That's old news.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the real prize. What's
Yeah. There was a moment, maybe I talked about it on the podcast. There was a moment we were driving in the car when he was a little younger, and we happened to see somebody flashing their breasts in a car nearby. I don't think it was at us, but it was like we happened to see it and he happened to see it. And I was like, that's a weird moment. I wonder if I have to explain that. And he's like, Dad, she wasn't wearing her seatbelt. I was like, yeah.
attaboy.
Yes, that's exactly right. Thank you. Well, let's kill it.
Great.
That's the end of our episode. You already know where to find us, most likely. If this is your first episode listening, listen to a single other episode and you'll know where to find us on social. We do want to give a shout out to Gabe Harder, who made all this possible, the video, also all of our podcasts that you listen to and why they sound so good. That's Gabe Harder. He's our editor, sound engineer, producer, director. He's everything. And other than that, I don't think I need to shout out anything. Oh, Me Rex probably. Me Rex did our theme song, which we're in love with. merex.bandcamp.com is where you can find their full albums, or you can just find them on Spotify or wherever you listen to your music. That's it. Bye.
I've got a quick question for you, alright? I wanna hear your thoughts, I wanna know what's on your mind. I've got a quick question for you, alright? The answer's not important, I'm just glad that we could talk tonight. So what's your favourite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it ever? Where did all go? Why do we know? Oh, forget it. Soren Bowie, Daniel O'Brien. Two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.